Hi folks, thanks for joining me here at Photo Tutorials. Got a neat little tutorial to show you here. It's how to create a photo montage, or some may call it a photo collage. They're both the same thing, it's just a collection of photographs made into one. And what I'm going to use, I'm just going to use this picture here we've got of this wine bottle, wine glass and grapes. And what we're going to do is we're going to transfer this image of the face of this model here into the wine glass. Very simple to do. It was a technique that was used by wedding photographers in the 80s, which they would create in the darkroom pre-digital. And what they'd do is they'd create a cardboard mask. So they'd have a circle cut out of the cardboard, which was cut exactly to the same size as the print that they wanted to make. And what they would do is they would get a negative of the image of the model and they would photograph it in the center of the cutout, and that would be the first process of the montage. Then what they'd do is they reverse the mask. They'd get the cutout that they'd taken from the center, and because the center of the photograph had already been exposed to the enlarger, which was the model's face, then what they do is they'd cover that over and they'd put the light back on it again through the same piece of paper, and that would expose a different negative on the outside of the image. And using a wide aperture, something like f4, f5.6, it would create a nice blend between the two images. Now we're going to do that now, but it's with this digital era. We're going to do it with Photoshop. So it's a very easy technique, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with this image here, and it's a very simple technique to do. And all we need to do is we click. I'll just get my graphics pen. We're going to go on. We'll call this image here the background image, because that's going to be our base image for our complete montage. And I'm going to take this top image here of the model, and I'm just going to go onto the selection tool, and we're just going to go onto the elliptical marquee tool, which is going to give this sort of like a circular selection tool. And what we're going to do is, if we don't get this right first time, don't worry, we can just deselect it and go back until we get it right. Sorry, I do apologize, I've clicked the wrong one, excuse me. That should now be the right one. Oh, there we go, just deselect it. So what we're going to do is we're going to select an area where we can put this model. I don't want to go all the way down to the shoulder, by the way, into this wine glass. And if you look at the wine glass, it's quite elongated, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to elongate the selection like so. But what I want to try and do is I want to try and avoid getting too much of this background in, because when we feather our pixels on this selection, we are going to get a bit of this background bleeding into the wine glass here, through our the selection of pixels in this feather box here. But as you can see, this marquee tool, what I've got selected here, I've got it feathered to 175 pixels. If you look up where my mouse is here, look up in this feather box, you can see 175 px. That's 175 pixels. So it's gonna feather out to that amount of pixels. So it's gonna have a nice gradation look to it. So when we get it over there into that image, you'll see how it looks. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna click Control and Alt and just move it over. You can just click drag if you want, you know, like it'll do exactly the same job. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get that on full screen, and there you can see, if we just move that there, we're going to have to scale that up a bit. You can see how we've got a nice feather. If I just move it over the top of that bunch of grapes and that glass, you can see how it's feathered out into nothing, and that's the effect we're looking for. So now what we need to do is we need to scale this up so it fits the wine glass. And to do that is we go to Edit, and we go down to Transform. Okay, and then what we do is we click on the scale button, and because the image is quite large, we move it over until you come up to the binding box on the edge of the image, and we just move it down and then move it across so we can see what we're doing. We're going to try and reduce the size of this as much as we can to fit in that wine glass. And it's not, you know, it's not just a wine glass. You can do it. You can try this. You can have a great deal of fun with this at home with your family, with your children. You know, there's a lot of things you can, you can use as a background image, and they look absolutely fantastic when they're done. And we want to have it looking sort of right. You know, we want it looking decent. So that's why we've selected the 175 pixels. I'm just gonna shorten that down a bit there. Now that's not looking too far off. If you look on this right hand side here, you can see how we've got a nice bit of bleed in from the background of the model, which is like a highlighted halo around the model, and we've still got this lovely shadow on the wine glass. Well, I actually want to do that. It's the same on this left side. If you see the highlight in the glass, the reflection of the highlight in the glass, I want to try and keep that as well, because it just blends the two images nicely together rather than have this covering it all up. I don't want to do that. I just want to keep it nice and neat on both sides. And I'm just going to reduce this down a little bit further here to around about there. Now that looks good to me. And what I'm going to have to do is take that down to, and what I'm trying to achieve is, if you have a look at the width and the height, the width is on 18.12% and the height is on 19.64%. I want to try and get the height to match the width so that the perspective of the photograph looks right. So I'll take that down as close as I can get it. Right, I'm just going to go with that. That'll do me for now. So what I'm going to do is just bring that up slightly. To there, and I'm going to click the tick there. That'll get rid of the scaling box. Now what I want to do is I'm just going to zoom in on that so I can have a closer look. Now that's probably got about it first time for me. That's how I like it. I'll just move that about, and as you can see, you've got a lovely blend between the wine glass and the background of the actual model. You can see how it fades in nicely around there, and if I move it about, you can just see how that's blending in there. You know, we don't want to take that too far up, because then you're going to see the edge of the selection. So we're just going to move it down there and have a look, just double check that. In fact, I'll zoom out slightly just to double check, and click on the move tool, and we'll just move it about till you feel happy that you've got a nice position. See, if you have a look at the bottom here, you can still see a lot of detail in this wine, and I just want that detail to blend in with the photograph of the model. And as you can see, we can still see the necklace there. That's happening beautifully, and this is what you want to be achieving. And setting 175 pixels to the edge of that image is what's giving you that lovely selection. And if we click back, you can see how it's looking nice already. So what we're going to do now is, I'm just going to zoom in, and I'm just going to show you something else. Excuse me, what we're going to do. Now, I don't want to bleed over any detail into that wine glass, so around the edges of this wine glass here, if you have a look, there's a nice lovely shadow line up there off the side of the glass. I'm going to click on the eraser tool, okay, and I'm just going to erase any sort of bleed over of the image of the model on that layer that might be bleeding over into that wine glass. Okay, like so. And if we look at this edge here, there's probably quite a bit of bleeding here. Doesn't seem to be too bad actually. And you can still see the hairline coming through that shadow there, and you've still got that reflection of the glass, and it's starting to look quite good. And all I want to do is I'm just going to sort of even out this sort of highlight on the right hand side of the wine glass, like so. And I'm going to leave that at that. And if I zoom onto full screen again, there you can see it's already done. All we need to do now is, if you come up here, up to layer, click on layer, flatten image. If you look in the layer box, we've got 2 layers there from the wine glass and the portrait. And just a little, I'll just close on it. I'll just show you something. Where's it gone? Sorry, I've flattened that image. I shouldn't have done, but I have anyway. It doesn't matter. All I was just going to say is, if you click on the eye on the background layer, it'll just show you the selection of the model that's been made, and then you can just check and double check, make sure that none of that background has gone past the wine glass, and just delete accordingly with the eraser tool. So there you've got it. You've got a nice photo montage or photo collage, and it's took you less than 10 minutes. Have a go of it yourself and see what you think. And you try photographing everyday items around the house and get the family involved and have a go yourself. And I hope you've enjoyed watching this, and I hope you have a go at it yourself. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.